Come join Melissa and her guests on the Chats from the Blog Cabin podcast. From North Carolina, this podcast will have you feeling like you've known these folks for years. Listen in as they chat about life, culture, current events, and more, all with a special Southern flair. Curl up with your favorite beverage and get ready to be entertained. Tune in now for a unique experience that's fun and insightful.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Chats from the Blog Cabin. You know, where the iced tea is cold and super sweet and the stories are real and the heart work gets deep. I'm your host, Melissa. You know who I am. And today, y'all, this one's fresh from the soul. It's going to be a solo episode. I'm going to try and do one solo episode a week. So putting out 2 podcasts a week because there's a lot laying on my heart. And I just feel like I'm not the only one out there. So let's get into it. This morning, as I was reading my devotional, it hit me. The whole message was about compassion. Not just kindness, not being polite, but deep, soul-reaching compassion. The kind that sees pain and doesn't turn away. And when you know it, I'd already planned today's episode around the same thing. I don't believe in coincidences, not when it comes to matters of the heart. I believe God placed these moments in our past like breadcrumbs, reminding us to pay attention. We've seen a lot happen in the United States in the last, since January, basically. Let's just put it out there. Since January, let's call it what it is. We have seen a lot of changes, some good, some bad. A lot of people are fearful. I, for one, am in that case, the class of being fearful, to the point that I had an air tag put on my husband, and my husband knows it's there. He carries it in his wallet because he doesn't have the newest iPhone, and it's his work phone, so it's hard to find my friends there, but I can find my friends through the air tag. It's not always up to date. It's not always where his location is, but at least for my peace of mind, I know that he's where he is. And if he stays in one thing too long, I'm calling him. He's like, "Oh, you're going to keep track of me now?" No, I just know that he travels a lot in the state, and I just want to make sure that he's okay. So I have a lot of fear. I have a lot of fear with my daughter living in California and, things that are happening there. Luckily, my girls pass more for white than they do Hispanic. But still, there's that part of me that just really, really goes around. And so I want to talk about Galatians 5:6. This was my devotion. Now, the King James Version says, "For in Jesus Christ neither circumcision availeth anything, nor uncircumcision, but faith which worketh by love." And basically what it is another version of it says the only thing that counts is faith expressing itself through love. It isn't a series of obligations, but a love story between us and God who loved us first. And he talks about acts of kindness, compassion, and forgiveness are not chores, but the natural outflow of our heart, overflowing with gratitude. So I got a feeling because people in the U.S. are not showing compassion to their fellow men of color, that they don't have gratitude in their heart. They're so literally, I was watching Mexico won the World Cup in U.S. in a red state. And people are like, "Oh, well, that's football is a girl's sport." No, it's not. It's a male sport. The girls finally are getting dominance in it. But also they were like, deport, 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 deport. And I'm like, what the heck, people? You cannot see the compassion for your fellow men. You can't see, they're excited. They're happy. They won something. And yet all you want to do is degrade them because they actually beat U.S. And now you're saying, "Oh, it's a girl's sport. It doesn't really matter." Are we that far gone in our life that we will pick apart people for just tiny little things like that? I literally have to limit my social media now because there's just too much going on in the world. And there's days where, like right now, I'm in my Shih Tzu mom shirt, which is like my favorite. This is my comfy shirt. It's my favorite shirt. It's my go-to shirt. So I'm going to wear that. That's what makes me feel comfortable. That's what makes me feel happy. Allie, who you've seen a couple of times on the podcast, she actually turned 14 on Saturday. And I know the day is going to be coming that I'm going to have to let her go. And I don't want to let her go because she gives me comfort. So you have to find things that you're grateful for. Because when you feel grateful, and I just literally, I'm sorry, guys, I'm looking out my window at my office and a cardinal just flew across the window. And that's showing me that this message right on time, and that I have a firm belief that the Cardinals are my dad and my sister coming around to telling me I'm on the right track or things are going the right way I'm supposed to. So going back to this, finding gratitude in little things. If you got up this morning, way to go. If you made yourself breakfast, way to go. If you have food on your table, that's something to be grateful for. If you have a car, which we're not in and get into my car at the moment, you should be grateful. Last week was not a good week for me. I did not show compassion to my daughters, to my fellow man, because I was literally really mad because I was having to fix everybody else's mistakes, and it was just awful. But going back to this, this kind of faith that shows compassion isn't about perfection, but about progress. Yes, as humans, we're going to mess up, but it's when we can admit our mistakes and move forward is when we can go get better. Because honestly, guys, I see so many people literally making mistakes and they point the finger at somebody else. I'm not going to say who, but literally watching a press conference last week, a person contradicted themselves multiple times within the same press conference. And I'm like, what is this world coming to? What is the United States is coming to? So what the world needs now is love. So let's put it plain and simple. The world is hurting. I mean, have you seen the pictures of the Statue of Liberty where they had a new mural where the Statue of Liberty is covering up her face in shame? The world is watching us. We see it in the news. We hear it in our communities. Some of us feel it in our own homes. Between divisions, disasters with the flooding, everything like last night, tropical storm Chantel caused floodings in North Carolina that have never seen floodings. A major highway was flooded up in the Piedmont area, not on the coastline and not in the mountains, but in the Piedmont. So it's hitting everybody. Injustice, people that are going to and trying to do things the right way and then get the rug pulled out from under there. And just the everyday burdens like high grocery prices. Literally, have you checked the price of eggs lately? Have you checked the price of gasoline yet lately? We're all carrying something. We're so desperate need of compassion. But the problem is when we get so bogged down in all these burdens and everything that's not, we're focusing on everything that's not going right in our life. We're not showing compassion because we're so quick to point out, well, you know what? This person my next door neighbor has a better car than I did. So I bet you $20 he's doing something wrong. And you tend to start getting this negative view of the world. And as much as I want to have the negative view, and I really kind of am stuck in that negative view, I've taken steps to stop myself from this negative view. One of those steps I've told you is I'm limiting my social media. I'm on a couple of times a day because that's my job. I work on social media. I have my own blog. I work for myself, so I have to be on social media. Another thing is a friend of mine she's been on the podcast before. We're going to create a group that's about hope. It's about giving back to others. And it's not about taking away. It's not about a political statement. It's not about anything like that. It's someone who is struggling through hope and giving them hope. Someone who may be struggling with a teenager who just hates them. I mean, I know I've been through that. I had 3 girls and they were all teenagers at one time. Someone may be struggling with the fact that they've lost a parent and they feel like they're an orphan now. I mean, both my husband and I both lost both sets of our parents. All the different things in your loss of job, loss of the sense of community, loss of what you thought your life was going to be like. I mean, we all have those losses, but when we gather together as one and convene and be there for each other, that's when compassion comes in. That's when our gratitude starts overflowing. So, it just really, we're in desperate need of compassion for each other. I don't know how many times, like, I literally want to touch the keyboard and spew hateful comments to people when I see the comments like, oh, well, I'm political and I'm trying not to get into politics, but it's hitting right at home right now. And it's like, I need to do something, but I don't know what to do. And that's at that point, that's when I lean on my faith. And we're not talking about the kind of compassion that comes in a neatly typed social media caption. I mean, let me sit beside you in the ashes compassion. Those compassions are when you're sitting with that person and you're walking along with them. The world needs less opinions, less noise, and they need people who are willing to see each other, guys. Not to look at a person and say, you're a brown person, you're here illegally. Doesn't matter what color they are. There are white people here that are here illegally. It doesn't matter. You need to be willing to see each other and say, I may not understand everything you're going through, but I refuse to let you walk through it alone. And that's what a lot of these protests are about in the US right now. They're not letting people walk through alone. They're protesting about, people that are just being randomly taken, no due process. And people are like, well, they're here illegally. Well, they're not illegal. They're undocumented. Get that straight. Undocumented workers still pay into Social Security, still pay taxes. And people think, oh, well, they're putting it up in a luxury hotel. And I mentioned this before. There's no luxury hotel for $100 a night in New York City. So go ahead and rebuke that right now, rebuke it. Because when I went to New York, and we by far did not stay in a fancy luxury hotel, it was over $300 a night. So I'm just putting that one out there. Maybe you're like me and you're scrolling through stories of pain and feeling hopeless, but compassion isn't just a feeling, it's a verb. It means you take action when you start feeling compassion. Whether it's talking to a neighbor you usually wave to but haven't talked to in a while, or you're leaving a kind note for someone, a grocery worker, or you're dealing with people with kindness. Like last week, I had to deal with the DMV, not the DMV, the driver's license plate agency, because the plate in my car has not come in yet, my permanent tax. And the 60-day tag, which North Carolina has a 60-day tag system instead of a 30-day, has not come in. My 60 days have expired, already made a payment, and still have not got my permanent tax. So when I walked into the driver's license place, and I was like, driver's license plate agency, it's different from the DMV. I walked in and I was like, I need to fix this because somehow everything got changed to my daughter's address in Greensboro. We want to give it into that. But she was really nice and very sweet. And then I said, and can you check on my plate for this? Because my tags are expired and I literally need a plate. And I've called, she's, well, you need to deal with the dealership. And I said, yes, ma'am, I know. I've called the dealership. I've already talked to them. It's supposed to get back to me today. I said, but would you kindly, while I'm here, I figured I would ask. And she was very nice and said, oh, yeah. But then she came back, well, your plates are really expired. Like, I didn't know that. They were expired by June 30th. It's literally sitting in my car, sitting in my yard right now because I'm not driving it until the plates are, because that's one less thing I need for a Target to be on the back. But, I could have said, yes, I know, and don't tell me to go someplace else. I'm going to the dealership. And instead of being irate with her and just like, this is ridiculous. And she had told me to go to another dealership that did the title things. And I'm like, no. I'm going to go to the dealership where I bought the car from because I know that it's their thing. It's their problem. They need to fix it. Because I could have walked into the title place and they would have known me from Adam. Whereas if I went to the dealership where they actually knew me, where we bought the car from, they would know me. And when immediately it's like, oh yeah. And I walked in and the lady says, oh yeah, her 60-day tags are expired. I hadn't got a call. They were just sitting around. And I'm like, yeah, I could have really been irate and said, why didn't you call me back? But I didn't. I gave them grace. Come to find out, it was when the person had done entered the VIN number for the inspection. Had fat fingers, which I totally get, because when I try to type something on my phone or on my iPad, trying to do the little hunt and pick with the keyboard, I accidentally hit, even on an actual keyboard, I actually hit the wrong key sometimes. So 100% I get that. But what my problem was why didn't they catch it before then? And I could have been irate about it, but it wouldn't have made me any less. What's the word I'm looking for? It wouldn't have helped me. It would have just agitated me more. So I was kind. They fixed the problem, but I'm still waiting on the plate. So hopefully I'll get the plate this week because I've got a lot of stuff to do. And then you also, with showing compassion, you also are praying for the mama whose kids were taken away and emailing your local representatives to demand better. I mean, I will say that I emailed the two North Carolina senators, only got a response back from one, and that response was not what I wanted, didn't even acknowledge the situation that was happening. But I will say that particular senator actually stood up and got some balls and stood up for North Carolina on the big, beautiful bill. I'm going to leave it like that. Another thing is listening without fixing. I mean, a lot of times when people come and they start telling us their problems, we're thinking about solutions for their problems. And honestly, the solutions are not what they want. They just want someone to listen to them. And that's the whole reason why Chats from the Block Cabin was started, was because I wanted to give people a platform to come on and share their stories and their lives and what's happened to them. And I have some really amazing guests last couple of weeks that I've interviewed that I'm just blown away by the talent and what these people have gone through. Like right now, I'm getting hyped up to do an interview this week with a lady who was adopted, and her trying to find her children. I mean, her adopted. I mean, her birth parents was like, oh my gosh, so amazing. I'm to the part in the book where she's just finally sat down and actually met her mom, and it did not go like she thought it would, but she met her birth dad who knew nothing about her. She knew existed, and he called her daughter. So, it's just those types of stories. And I'll never forget, last week I got a text from my friend Sherry, and she's like, Dan Stedham, how did that happen? And if you've listened to the previous podcast episodes, I actually interviewed Dan, who was the lawyer for the West Memphis Three. And she was just so impressed. She wanted to know how it happened. I'm like, well, he read a book and his publicist sent it to me. His publicist sent the press release, and I just answered it and said I would love to do it because I think everybody has a story they have to tell. So that's that. So listening without fixing, listening to the conversations, sitting down with people that are different than you and having that conversation. You know what? There's such a stereotype, and I'm going to use the Hispanics, the Mexican people in those country. There's such a stereotype about them that nobody is sitting down and listening to what they're actually saying. I watched a very, very, very moving, I think it was on Facebook. It was either on Facebook or Instagram. It was a reel, but it was a video. And it was a young girl, and they were in LA. I don't know exactly where in LA because LA County is huge. It was an LA police officer, and they were like behind a table. I guess they were like giving treats out, community policing or whatever, whatever. But there was a whole big of like Doritos and stuff. And there was like all these police officers in front. And there's this little girl. I think she's maybe 10, 12. Don't quote me on that. But she's asking the police officer, why aren't you doing something about ICE? I mean, she's got tears in her eyes. You can tell that she's Hispanic. She's very emotional. And the police officer could have easily said, it's not my job, and backed away. But no, he showed compassion to this young girl. He showed compassion. He listened to her. And he's like, well, sweetie, unfortunately, they're federal. There's nothing we can do to interfere. We are not assisting them because we're a sanctuary city, but we have to be there to protect them as well as to protect you. And the way he had that conversation with that girl, I know the girl and her mom were so happy that he had that conversation with them. That even though it didn't fix anything, that they knew that police officer, and who was a white guy, young white guy actually, knew that police officer was showing compassion and could see her for who she was, not the race that she was. And I love that. It's not about showing up, about showing compassion for your fellow man. It's about donating quietly. I've seen so many stories on Facebook and in my local group. Oh my God, my local group is like, you would not believe some crazy people in the group. But there was a couple of people where they were sharing, sitting down and having things for a meal with a homeless person. That's great. You can do that, but don't post it. Don't post it all over Facebook, because what you're doing is you're calling attention to yourself. Oh, I'm doing such a great thing, instead of calling attention to other things. Now, for me, last week, I filmed, but I've also done this multiple times. But last week was important for me to film because I put one of my books, Anchored in Hope, in a little free library. And I'll tell you more about that in just a second. And that was a commercial for my story, my book, Collaboration Anchored in Hope. You can find it on Amazon. I will link it in the show notes where you can find it. But that's the reason why I put it in there. In that particular one, in that particular little free library, I also put a little book plate. And the book plate basically says, I'm giving this in honor and remembrance of my dad, who was the chief of police in this town in the 80s and 90s, and who loved this community so much. And I just wanted to give something back. And now that whenever I get books and that I can't resell or I donate them to the little free library in Pikeville, because my dad was such a big person on literacy and reading. So I posted that to show that people need to start donating some of their books in Little Free Library, donating to the local community, because as my platform that I have, if people see me doing it, then they're more likely to follow suit. Who knows? It's also about showing up. I mean, there's days where, yes, I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to even get out of my pajamas. And like I said, this is my go-to outfit. It is literally Shih Tzu mom and a pair of shorts. That's what it is. And my hair pulled back because I did wash it today, but it's pulled back because it's hot in North Carolina. It's like supposed to be 105 today again. And also, too, second one, my hair is so heavy that it tends to bother my neck. So, see, you can do little things. You can go to the grocery store and you can call your neighbor who's maybe living next to an elderly neighbor. Ooh, I can't even talk right now. And you say to them, hey, I'm going to the store. Do you need me to pick up something for you? And do the grocery shopping for them. Pick up little, I have CSA flowers, and I will go sometimes take the flowers. Like when my mom was in the hospital, I would take her my CSA flowers. If you have a neighbor who doesn't have a lot of people coming, go to a nursing home, sit with people, read with people, just do anything to get out of your head, because you don't have to do everything, but you can do something, even if it's to sit down tonight and write out 5 postcards to 5 friends you haven't seen in a while and just say, hey, I was thinking about you. Think about how excited you are when you get a piece of personal mail, not a bill, not a flyer, not anything, but you get something, a package or something from a dear friend in the mail. Think about it. And it's not an email. It's not a text. It's something tangible, something you can hold in your hand. Do that to show you can be grateful. Like I said earlier, my devotional this morning was about showing compassion. Compassion isn't optional for those of us who walk in faith. It's a command. It's a reflection of God's heart. I don't know about you, but I've been on the receiving end of someone's compassion when I needed it most. And those moments changed me. They softened me. They saved me. And I want to be that for someone else. And it's hard. It's really hard when the world's going out. So there's a couple of things I want to leave you with. One was a quote in the day's devotion. It's by Claire Vassisi, and it says, we become what we love, and who we love shapes what we become. If we love things, we become a thing. If we love nothing, we become nothing. Imitation isn't a literal mimicking of Christ. Rather, it means becoming the image of the beloved, an image disclosed through transformation. This means we are to become vessels of God's compassionate love for others. The world needs compassion. And here's the little prayer for you. God, forgive me for the times we've turned faith into a performance. Help us to truly grasp that you cherish me and us, not for what we do, but for who we are with you. Open our eyes to the hurting world around us. When we see need, fill me with your compassion. When faced with difficulty, flood us with your patience. In moments of conflict, help us respond with your kindness. Let your incredible love be the heartbeat of our days, shaping our thoughts, words, and actions. May the way we live reflect your goodness, allowing others to see you through us. So here's your challenge today, sweet friend. Look for one person you can show compassion to, just one. Don't wait for that big dramatic moment. Start small. Start now. Because it's not a coincidence you're listening to this today. It's a calling. Let's stop rushing past each other and start leaning in with grace, with gentleness, and with hearts wide open. Hearts wide open, guys. Doesn't matter what color you are. Doesn't matter who you love. It doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. It doesn't matter if you're from a foreign country or you're from the United States. It doesn't matter to me if you're a man or a woman. It doesn't matter if you're a transgender person. It doesn't matter if you like to dress in women's clothes. It doesn't matter if you like to dress in men's clothes. It doesn't matter if you adopted your child. It doesn't matter if you gave birth to your child naturally. It doesn't matter if you breastfed your child. It doesn't matter if you didn't breastfeed your child. It doesn't matter, guys. What matters is we show compassion. We show compassion for each other and lead with love and not hate. So with that said, thanks for tuning in to Chats from the Blog Cabin. If this episode stirs something in you, go ahead and share it with a friend. And don't forget to leave a review. That helps more folks find their way to our little corner of the internet. Until next time, stay anchored in hope, and let compassion lead the way, and be the person that God wants you to be. And compassion is first and foremost leading with everything that God does. He shows compassion for the fellow man. So you too need to show compassion. Until next time, guys. Bye.